Hello everyone and welcome back. Welcome to my new subscribers, and I'm glad you've decided to join me on my journey. And I want to apologize for not getting a video up. As most of you know, I've taken to working overnights now, and I'm just so trying to get my sleep pattern down, which is proving rather difficult at this time. Anyway, I thought I'd show you. I've started putting up the trim in the farmhouse dining room, and I'm going to have to get all that up and stuff before I can put the light in, and then that room should be pretty much done. This is the molding I'm using. I ran out of the crown molding, so that'll be making a trip to somewhere to get some more of that, and I've also ran out of the baseboard. I did find a piece that I think might finish out the house that I was going to use for another house, but that'll be ordering from the UK since that's where I got it. So that one might take a little time if I don't have enough. Anyway, I'm going to shut this off and go around to the other side. I have a rather large gray cat helping me today, and he ain't much help. He wants to go outside, but we usually let him out a little later when it warms up a little bit. So, in just a minute, we'll go to the other side and see where I'm at. So this is looking into the dining room from the other end of the house, where I will be, at some point, attaching the access bay door here. And that's what I've gotten so far with that. And now we're going to go into the craft room, and I'm going to show you how desperation and frustration turned into a happy accident for me. See you in a bit. And welcome back. We're back in the craft room now, and I want to show you how, at least for me, a happy accident happened out of pure desperation and frustration when I was trimming out the dining room of the farmhouse. I just went looking for my little hobby knife, X-Acto knife, and I couldn't find it, so we're gonna use my trusty box cutter for this. As you know, I struggle with angles, cutting them so that they work well, and the farmhouse presented me with a particularly big dilemma, since I don't have anything that will cut the right angle, and I didn't want to just draw it out and leave it to chance because I don't have anything. I have a mini powered miter saw that I got at Harbor Freight for I think like, it was somewhere around $50, maybe a little less. And then I have my razor saw box, miter box. Now the mini power saw does not go up to the 60-degree angle that I needed for the farmhouse bay. This only cuts straight and 45. So I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm not good at angles anyway. So I started just messing around, because sometimes things happen. And those of you who build, please don't judge me. It worked for me. As you can see in the farmhouse, the trim looks pretty darn good in that bay. As good as I'm gonna get it. So what I did was, and I'm gonna use a popsicle stick. I don't know if that's probably the best choice, but I used it on this very thin baseboard, mop board, skirting board, whatever you call it in your part of the world. And it did work on that. And so I'm going to show you what I did, but I'm also going to tell you that if you try this, because it's not an exact thing, practice on something you don't want or need, okay? Don't take your piece of trim like I did and just go, hey, what happens if I do this? Because this did work for me. It may not work for you, and I'm not even sure how it's going to work with this popsicle stick, but we're going to try it. So the first thing I did was, all I could cut was 45-degree angles. And I'm off camera on this, but I'm just going to take my little razor saw here and cut a 45-degree angle on the end of the popsicle stick. God darn it. Sorry about that. Sometimes the saw binds a little bit. Okay, so I now have this 45-degree angle on my popsicle stick, and that is cutting it straight. Like I put it into the saw like this and then cut straight down. So that's where I'm at with that, and I'm going to go ahead and cut another one real quick here. I'm going to cut this off straight, and then I'm going to cut another 45. Sorry about the noise. Oh, yeah, I'm not one for squeaky things. Not like that. Okay, sorry. Okay, anyway, there's one, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a 45 on this one, but I've got to cut it the other direction so they meet up. All right. The popsicle stick is a little thicker and a little harder than the wood trim I'm using. Sorry about shaking the table. I can't really, there's not much I can do about that. Speaking of tables, I'm really excited because my craft room is terrible. I have a lot of stuff from when I was doing paper crafts, and they're mostly those plastic drawers and that kind of stuff. A couple shelf units. I need tables. Dollhouses are big. They take up room. And my craft room is fairly good sized, but I have no tables. So down in the basement, when I moved here, my ex-husband and I used to deal in antiques and collectibles. Well, while I was back getting stuff, I grabbed a couple of those tables, and I don't know why. They're not in good shape. They're not, you know, like quality antiques. They were probably both very cheap tables when they were made. I would never destroy anything good, and I am not destroying these, so please don't worry about that. But they will make great tables for my crafting room. So we're going to take them and put them back together, and I'm going to be adding 2 new tables, and then I should have my table I work on. I should have the table, I've got the Beacon Hill on a table, but I'm going to be able to get Grandma's house on a table, because Grandma's house is not sitting in a very good spot, so we can continue that. And I'm going to get the farmhouse in here, because it's in my dining room. My cats think they have to get in it if I have it opened, and it just is not working. So I'm really excited about getting what we need and getting those tables back together and having my craft room be a whole craft room for my miniatures. Okay, so I have cut these. I hope you, come on camera. It is so zoomed in right now that it doesn't want to. But I've cut the 45s, and if I put them together, you'll see I've got a nice corner there. However, this is not going to make a 60-degree angle. There's no way. So I need to go get my miter shears. I didn't think I would need them, but I do. I'll be right back. So here are my miter shears, which I absolutely love. There is a 60-degree angle on the miter shears. However, you can't cut down because your piece does, you can cram it in there, but it just doesn't. I mean, yeah, you could probably cut it, but when you're using anything bigger than a popsicle stick like my trim, I think it's, oh, I don't know, it's metric measurement. You can't cut that 60-degree angle you want. But you can use the 60-degree angle to make sure you've cut a good one. So what I did was, I was messing around. I was just so frustrated. And I took the piece I'd cut, and what I did was I shaved off just the tiniest amount on the flat, on the end of my angle. Like it starts here and it goes off that way at a diagonal. So I took my X-Acto knife, and it works much better, I'm telling you, than this box cutter, simply because the box cutter is big. And I cut off just the very tip of this. I tell you, I was frustrated. I was like, I'll never get this house finished if I can't cut that angle. Okay, so if I did this right, I don't know if you can even see, but I've just got little tiny bits on my finger. So that's why I say practice on something you do not, or you're not going to use for anything. I need to shave just a tiny bit off this one end down here. So all you that are good at woodworking, you're probably being like, oh, lady, what do you think you're doing? Well, as I said, it did work for me. I am not guaranteeing this will work for you, but it does work for me. So I now have, I'm taking my miter shears, and I'm going to line this up with the 60-degree angle on there. And I hope you can see it fits right up there nicely. Alright, so now I just got to do the same thing with the other side. Just going for that tiny, tiny edge. Just cutting that little bit off. And it's hard because this wants to slip, so you got to really hold it. Careful of your fingers doing this, because as you can see, I'm right down on the edge of that board. I'm not going to sand these because I'm not going to be using them for anything. And again, I'm holding it up to the 60-degree angle on the miter shears, checking, and my angle is going, the angle of my wood is going flush with this edge, so I know that it is about as close as I'm going to get to a 60-degree angle. So now I'm going to put those together. Oops, I had the wrong edge. That's how little I took off and wasn't painted. It's a sliver. It's just a sliver that you need to take off. So now these are not going together really wonderful because I see I need to shave down one more little edge, or the same edge, just I didn't get it shaved down evenly all the way. Okay, that's better. It's better. Not perfect, but better. So now I'm going to fit these together. And keep in mind the popsicle stick is splintering, my trim board did not. So, just so you know, that is a thing that does happen. So this one, there's a gap, but as I said, the popsicle stick likes to splinter. But now, as you can see, I've got a wider angle. It's not that straight 90-degree angle that I wanted. It is, let me put that up there. This one's got a gap because the popsicle stick did splinter when I was cutting it. And I think that might be due to the box cutter because the X-Acto knives are much thinner. But now you can see you can fit it together and you've got your 60-degree angle. And if you have a better quality of wood than a popsicle stick, maybe one that's not quite so hard, it works much, much better. So anyway, practice, practice, practice. Be careful of your fingers if you try this, because you may have to get right down there to hold that wood right on the end, depending on how small your piece is. Practice, practice, and, whoops, hopefully you too can find your success in cutting a 60-degree angle when you don't have anything to cut it with. I live 50 miles from 3 bigger cities, towns, small cities. One's a big city, biggest we have. And so driving 50 miles to buy a miter box that will cut those angles, I have to really need other stuff before I do that. So that wasn't really an option at the time. Like I said, it was pure desperation and frustration, and it worked for me. I am not guaranteeing it's going to work for you. It's going to be on how precise you can make your cuts. Always cut longer than you need, even if it's 1/8 of an inch, because sometimes you just gotta, make it work. And so longer is better. Measure at least twice before you cut. These are simple, common sense solutions, but like I'll get in a hurry and I don't even think about it, and then I end up wasting something. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying the progress on the farmhouse. I know it's slow, but I want to make it look really nice. And I hope maybe my little happy accident will work for you if you need something like that. I honestly didn't know what else to do. I apologize to all of you out there who are good at woodworking, but I'm not. My brother's amazing. I'm not. So anyway, I will try my hardest to get a video up on Thursday this week. It's, like I said, it's this overnight schedule, which is kind of crazy because one week I work 5 days, the next week I work like 3 days, and it's kind of crazy, and sleeping is kind of a deal, so I have 3 days off the 1 week, so I want to do everything I can while during waking hours because the stores around here aren't open. Well, like in this town here, the Dollar General's open till 10, but everything else closes like 7. We don't have much for business here, and if I go to the bigger towns, they're all closed by 10, pretty much. So, yeah, I want to do everything while have days off and I'm awake, and that screws up any sleeping schedule I might try to have. So, I apologize. I will try to get a video up on Thursday. I thank you all for joining me. So happy to have the new subscribers, and I hope you all have a great week. Thank you. Bye-bye.